I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dippy, there's no one like me. I'm from Naircross, there's no one that can match me.
Boxing beats and rhymes.
The best boxing channel on YouTube.
All the way, mate, all the way.
If you're of the opinion that Anthony Joshua swerved Tyson Fury, you are wrong. 100% wrong. Just seems convenient that after this totally one-sided fight, he tells us he needs surgery after. Did he diagnose himself while he was fighting? Or did he have a reoccurring injury with his elbow or his hand going into the fight? Seems very convenient. So when Mark Kriegel was asking him, well, what about the March date? Well, he says, oh, well, whenever my hand is better, we'll talk about the fight. This is what I was saying. There is no way he was going to go into this fight here, a December the 3rd fight here, and then fight Usyk in March. The fight's not happening in March. When's the last time Fury has done two camps back to back in such close proximity to each other? He needed to fight, he needed to knock out some rust, but he knew that Derek couldn't get to him. If anybody saw the second fight, you could assume that the third fight was the safe option. He didn't want to fight Anthony Joshua. That's why he kept jumping up and down. Sign the contract, sign the contract. While Derek has had how many months to decide if he's going to take the fight or not? Come on, man. And don't talk to me about no bullshit that, well, Derek gave Usyk a harder fight than Joshua and all this. Look, AJ has had how many title defenses and how many knockouts? AJ offensively, with his physical dimensions, is way more of a threat to Fury than Derek. People say you can't do triangle Furies. Well, do this Fury here. Derek fought an opponent named Avila. And Derek didn't look good. This went into the 9th round and Derek won by a TKO. And the guy was never off his feet. Joshua blew this guy around in 1 or 2 rounds. Just like he blew away Kingpin Johnson in 2 rounds, who took Derek the distance. Yeah? Derek had 2 12-rounders with Pulev. AJ took Pulev out in, what was it, 8 or 9? What about Dillian White? Dillian outpointed Derek and knocked him out in the other fight. What happened when Dillian fought AJ? Knocked out by the uppercut. Don't tell me there's not a difference in the offensive abilities of Anthony Joshua or Derek Chisora. Ask Fury about the sparring session when AJ was an amateur, which he's never been able to get out of his head. Tyson jabbed him to death, swelled up his eye, landed right uppercuts, left uppercuts. Derek tried to go southpaw late in the fight. That didn't help. Derek tried to work the body, got some body shots in here and there, some strayed low. Derek tried them Hail Mary barroom overhand rights that Fury just leaned back from, and the punch always missed. I think he connected with 1, maybe 2. I mean, the punch stats, Tyson landed twice the amount of Derek, plus 17. And the referee jumped in and stopped it in the 10th and stopped Derek from quitting, which looks better the referee jumps in there than Derek quitting. Derek even thanked the referee after. It wasn't a competitive fight. A lot of people were warning against this. They saw the second fight. I'm not mad at the fight. If you want to pay for it, you pay for it. Pay-per-view or your ticket, freeze your bollocks off down the road there at White Hart Lane if you like. I don't want to hear no shit from Tyson Fury fans. I'm not here saying AJ would have won the fight. I'm not here saying that. I'm saying it's a new fight, it's a different fight. It would have given the spectators something different to see. You should have at least let AJ and Eddie go through all their paperwork. And if they were bluffing, time would have ran out of them and you could have called them on it. You rushed to get into this fight here. I mean, what was the rush that he needed to fight now if he's going to have this surgery? Because originally, we need to fight December the 3rd to prepare for March. But now, he needs surgery. There is no fight in March. You know, this guy was pretending he was so desperate to fight Usyk in December when he wasn't. When Usyk said, I'm going to spend time with my family and I'm going to get ready for next year, he couldn't wait to use this as an excuse to fight Derek Chisora or Manuel Charr. Oh, you don't want to fight in December, you shithouse this. Listen, I don't believe none of that crap, man. It's nonsense. Usyk travelled all the way to the UK for what? To walk up to the ring and not say anything. He doesn't speak English. What are you going to approach Tyson Fury for? It's not like you can have a slanging match. You don't speak English. So he just stood there while Tyson's calling him midget, middleweight, PUSSY, and a whole load of expletives. Then Joe Joyce jumped in. Joyce just... Listen, you're not getting the fight, Joyce. You're not getting the fight. Fury's as great as you guys are saying. He may have turned the AJ fight into a sparring session as well. Maybe so, but we've never seen it. We've seen this one twice already. And on the strength of Derek beating Pulev, he gets this fight. A lot of people thought the Pulev fight could have went the other way. AJ knocked Pulev out. With all the money that was on the table for fighting AJ, you wouldn't wait a couple more weeks to straighten out the paperwork? You made sure he couldn't have the December the 17th date to persuade him not to take the fight, considering he just had a 12-rounder for the Unified Championship in August. But AJ said, nah, let's go for it. Anyone who says that AJ avoided this fight, you are incorrect. No big slanging match with you or anything. The way I see it, AJ has as much chance of beating Tyson Fury as Wilder, Vladimir Klitschko, Derek Chisora, Dillian White, or any other motherfucker you want to mention who Fury's fought, singing Derek Chisora's name at the end of the fight. Oh, Derek Chisora, what a warrior Derek is. Yeah, we know Derek's a warrior. Of course he's a warrior. He's the only one who had courage to fight me. No, not true. Joyce could have been in that ring instead of Derek Chisora. And Joyce is on the same promotional banner as you are. Yo, put it together. I saw what Joyce did to Parker, and we saw how Derek struggled in 2 fights with Parker. I think he won the first one. He struggled. The fight was boring, predictable as anything. One of the worst WBC heavyweight title fights I've seen in a long while. I'm not going to say the worst ever because I haven't went through the lineage. But that was boring. It was boring. But I didn't pay for it. But I still want to air it out, nevertheless. But I believe the Usyk fight will happen, yeah? If Fury doesn't want to pay the IBF sanctioning fees, then the fight should still go ahead. It doesn't matter if it's undisputed. It's just semantics, really, at this point. The fight should still go ahead, and Hrgovic fight Joshua for the vacant IBF belt or whatever. Let me give Fury his due. Here's the true facts. Like, Derek Chisora will come back against a ranked opponent and look good, or at least be competitive. There's not many who could do to Chisora what Fury did to him in the last 2 fights. That's the truth. That is the truth. But Fury still needs to take on the Joyces, the Joshuas, the Usyks. 2 defenses is just not enough. Joshua has way more defenses than that. And even Wilder does. But Wilder weren't unifying shit. The Wilder fans might not want to admit that, but he's the one who was protected. Not Joshua, it was him. We all know this was a cherry pick, but it may have worked out well for Tyson Fury in terms he can gauge his strengths and weaknesses against Usyk by looking how they both done against a common opponent in Chisora. And look, Fury was way more domineering than Usyk was against Chisora. So that should give them added confidence if this fight goes ahead. Usyk refers to himself as the Rabbit. What boxer calls himself the Rabbit? I mean, Muhammad Ali, did he nickname Floyd Patterson the Rabbit or the Hare, one of the two? But Floyd didn't give himself the nickname. Who calls himself the Rabbit? You got to be extremely confident as a boxer to call yourself the Rabbit. Because a rabbit is not a threatening mammal compared to some of the other mammals out there. And they're not going to take no tune-up fight, Usyk. They're not going to take a tune-up fight. They've got their system in place. No wasted energy. They're going to strategize to win. And Tyson Fury's not stupid. One thing he isn't, he's not stupid. He knows that Usyk has extreme belief in his ability. Extreme belief. And Fury must avoid overthinking what he's going to do in the ring. He must avoid that. A lot of people say Fury is the master of gamesmanship and mental games. Well, this is the ultimate mental game with Alexander Usyk. That's the ultimate test. That's where we're going. If you look at the results and how Fury dealt with Del Boy and how Usyk dealt with him, you'd probably go with Fury. Is Fury the king of gamesmanship and mind games? Is he the king? Because this is 2 fights on the bounce. Like, what was Dillian doing during the build-up and during the fight with Tyson Fury? Why was he so passive? Why was Derek talking about, I can't slag Tyson Fury off because he's putting food on my table? No, he needs you like you need him. What's all this? We're grateful, Tyson. What's all this shit? He changed Derek, didn't he? He changed him. And this is what I was talking about before. Will Derek freeze? He didn't freeze so much, but he allowed Tyson Fury to dictate the pace of the press conference, not the boxing. We haven't even got to the boxing yet. The pace of the press conference, the build-up. He gave up on trying to unsettle Tyson Fury. because I'm grateful for the payday. 2 fights on the row where 2 guys, outspoken, volatile characters of the British heavyweight scene, all of a sudden are whistling to Tyson's tune. And it seems like from the build-up, where they were passive, they took it into the ring and were passive. Look, it probably wouldn't have made any difference anyway, even if he mentally approached it from a different angle. But it was disappointing to see him so amicable and pally with Tyson beforehand. It was a little disappointing. I mean, Vitali gave Derek a payday out of nowhere, a voluntary. He slapped Vitali in his face. Spat water in Vladimir's face. Everyone's talking about they want to see Derek retire. Sam Jones, he wants to see Derek retire. He's genuinely concerned for Derek. But, you know, I found it ironic that Sam, in the interview, said he's deluded when it comes to England. He thinks they're going to win even though they most likely won't win the World Cup. So you confess to being deluded as a football fan for England, but you don't understand why Derek is deluded about his boxing career. And look, I understand there are people genuinely concerned about Derek. Fair enough. I understand that. But there's no need to coerce Derek, to try and coerce Derek to retire. I don't know if he's burnt bridges with Eddie, but he started to throw some shade at DAZN and Eddie Hearn in the build-up for this fight. That was weird as well. That was weird. Earlier in the build-up, he was bigging Eddie Hearn up and taking digs at Frank Warren. But look, most promoters now are going to be reluctant to work with Derek. He's 38, just took a fucking hiding. Eye busted up. Couldn't eat his Five Guys burger because his jaw was mashed up. There's no obvious pay-per-view fights right now for Derek Chisora. I mean, he could make a good gatekeeper for some of the contenders and prospects coming up. But does Derek want to do that, really? There's no need, like I'm saying, to try and coerce Derek to retire. His career will fizzle out, or progress, perhaps, in accordance to who wants to come and see him now, after watching him being dominated by Tyson Fury. Let Derek do what he's doing. If he wants to fight more people, he said he doesn't want to go out like that. Radio Raheem, I don't think he heard Derek properly, he titled the video, Derek Chisora doesn't want to go on like this, meaning he's on the verge of retirement. No, that's not what he said, Raheem. He said he doesn't want to go out like this, meaning he wants to redeem himself and have another fight, maybe plural. That's what he meant. I think Derek would prove to be very popular in America, actually, taking some of the contenders out there. And if he puts up a good display, I think Derek would be very popular out there. But as for the UK, he's done it. What more is there to do in the UK? Who's there to really fight out here now? I think people would maybe tune into a Joyce Chisora fight. But would they pay for it? Would they pay pay-per-view for it? Fabio Wardley, new British champion. There are a few people. It might not be the paydays he's accustomed to. And I think once the paydays are not where Derek wants them to be, that's when he'll probably hang them up. Okay, it was a left hook high up on the head. And them temple shots scramble the senses, don't they? We've seen it. Sometimes fighters never recover from that temple shot. I don't think Daniel's leg was injured. I think the leg injury is something Daniel was putting out there perhaps, or the cornerman or the commentary team were putting out there to mask the fact he was hurt by that left hook, and he was hurt by it. I noted in the weekly this week that Daniel had an interview and he just wanted the interview to be over and done with quick, and he's talking about devastation and destruction and like, just looked a little tense. Daniel always looks a little tense. And I don't know if he may have anxiety issues which may plague him. But there it goes, the left hook that puts him down. It was well timed. It could be either the cruiserweight speed or the southpaw stance giving him trouble too. There he goes down from nothing there. Was he trying to buy time? Internet's been going crazy. There he goes down again. Hard to say what really landed there. Punches were definitely thrown. Doesn't look like he's limping to me. I put a weekly out just a minute ago, and I did cover this fight briefly, and I said, Daniel needs to be able to fight without just bulldozing people. He needs to be able to walk people into punches. And now he's hurt, he's boxing behind his jab and he's countering. But Daniel shouldn't wait until he's hurt before he starts using his brain to box. And in the second round, he moved fairly well. There's no way the leg is injured and he's moving as well as he is in the second round. He jabbed very well, placed some good shots to the body, and kept it long. LERANA, career heaviest weight. Apart from the first round where it may have given him a little extra punch power, he couldn't get near Daniel when he was moving. He couldn't get nowhere near him. I think he should have come in a little lighter because he immobilized one of his assets, and that's foot speed, by coming in so heavy. But even now, where Daniel is boxing, jabbing and moving, it's very nervous. It's a very nervous looking Daniel. And that's understandable. He's fighting for his career. But he looks scared to get hit right now. Nice 1-2 by Daniel. A jab and uppercut. Controlling the fight nicely behind that jab. Yeah, there's no leg injury. There is no leg injury. There's no way there's a leg injury. You have to wonder if LERANA isn't a little shell shocked that he scored them knockdowns so early. Because it's hard to see what his game plan was after that. It's like he was just chasing the knockout after that. And that could have took him out of a game plan of perhaps getting in there, landing a couple and getting out. He was just following Daniel around the ring. You know, Daniel looks a little more sure about himself now in the third, using his feet pretty well. Looking for that long right, Daniel. There it goes. Or went to the body with the right hand. That's the counter for the southpaw, is that right hand. Good jab by Daniel. Good jab. Oh, there you go. Very good right hand. Didn't look like there was much on it, but he walked him onto it. And this is what I was saying in the weekly. You got to walk people onto shots. You can't just bulldoze everybody over. And I've noticed that a lot of people who are Daniel flag wavers, they encourage Daniel just to bulldoze and not to box. That was impressive. He showed punching power while he was moving backwards, Daniel, and still floored his man with that right hand. It's impressive. He has ability, but he's a disaster waiting to happen. But he does have ability. He's looking pretty good here, though. He's looking for the finish. Dig into the body there, Daniel, hard. Great right uppercut. Oh, that's it, it's over. Howard Foster steps in. That right uppercut rendered his opponent helpless. LERANA defeated for the second time. And Daniel escapes with a W. Are there some underlying issues with Daniel? His psyche just can't take a good shot. Anxiety. Look, in his defense, the guy he fought was more experienced. He was older, got more fights, even if they were at a lower weight, and he got caught with a good shot. I've never been super high on Daniel, never. So I'm not saying anything nobody ain't heard me say about him already. I know a lot of people ask me to roast Jaime Munguia, but what's the point? I didn't have faith that he was going to take the JANIBEK fight. He was ordered as a mandatory by the WBO. He doesn't want to smoke. No shock there. JANIBEK still maintains his gangster boogie, man, reputation, I guess, is what it is.
Jaime Munguia turning down the WBO ordered. With JANIBEK, your thoughts on that?
Jaime Munguia is just, what Golden Boy are doing with Jaime Munguia is so embarrassing. Like, you've got a kid here, he can fight, he could be a star. His resume is appalling. He's fighting the worst level of opposition I've ever seen. He's turned down a Demetrius Andrade mandatory, he's turned down a JANIBEK mandatory. I don't know what they're doing with him.
Jamal Charlo, I don't know, maybe the time he's had out of the ring has convinced him that he's a light heavy. Probably can't make 160. Like, it was so random him calling out Bivol or confronting Bivol face to face when he saw him at the Pro Grace Sabeda event. He wants to fight Bivol, and he said at 168, not even at 175. But he wouldn't fight Benavidez at 168, which was an easy fight to make. They're both under the PBC banner. So whose belt would be on the line if you fight at 168? Charlo's belt is at 160, and Bivol's strap is at 175. What was it, for the catchweight championship? The WBC wouldn't mandate Carlos Adames. They seem to order every single mandatory except Carlos Adames's. So he's ducking that fight. Adames is there at number 1. He's ducking that. JANIBEK said he's willing to fight all the rival belt holders. Obviously, Charlo didn't hear, or he's ducking that as well. Nobody's calling for this guy to fight Bivol. Nobody. The PBC always do them random ones. Yeah, we want to see Errol Spence versus Mikey Garcia. When? Since when? We want to see Bivol and Beterbiev. How did this guy have the audacity to even put his name in the discussion? You haven't even fought a 168-pounder. I think he gets inebriated at these events, Charlo. Maybe he's got a drink problem. Paul Smith, scathing attack on Team Yard, especially Tunde AJAYI. He said Anthony Yard should stay as far away from Tunde as possible. It's all about Tunde's ego, not the fighter. He said he's met Yard and he was very respectful. He likes Yard. But he said he should ditch Tunde and ditch all the friends surrounding the camp. And obviously he thinks Beterbiev is going to win. Now his brother Callum will fight the winner out of Yard and Beterbiev. I don't think Paul has looked at Team Yard recently. Like, Tunde doesn't do Twitter anymore, and he's not going back and forth with people. He just does Stamina for Sale, his podcast with Spencer Fearon, and that's that. He's toned down quite a bit. They bought James Cook, former European super middleweight champion, former British super middleweight champion, old school Jamaican, really good fighter in his prime. I grew up watching James Cook. The man is an MBE for his work at the Pedro Youth Center boxing gym. He's not a joke. He's very respectable. So they're not just some loudmouth dudes screaming lines in the camp. No. So they've got real boxing people in there. They do. When's the last time you see them come on camera, lions in the camp and all that? They haven't done that for ages. So they've matured. I think they were brought to reality after the Kovalev defeat, where it looked like there could be a split between Yard and Tunde. You got to at least give them this fight here to see what they can do, as far as I'm concerned, before you just pull it apart. Hopefully Tunde doesn't respond. Hopefully they're zoned in to the task in what is just a few weeks away now. Post-fight, you know, they can have a go at Paul Smith, but right now they need to ignore that. If Yard loses again, I'm not sure if the relationship between him and Tunde survives. I'm sure they're very close, but business is business. Gallo used his feet better than he did in the last fight, especially in the earlier phase of the fight. The problem Roman has, and it showed up in this fight, it was very close. Roman is not one-dimensional. He showed that against Martinez. He's not one-dimensional. But when it comes to Gallo, he can only really do one thing, and that's come forward. Whereas Gallo can fight in the pocket and at range. I had the feeling that Estrada could have made this one easier because Gonzalez looked flat. They were talking about overtraining, but he seemed like he wanted to knock Gonzalez out. I think if he had just controlled it with the jab more, but that's not their style. Both of them like putting on a show for the crowd. Wasn't much in it on the final punch stat report. Estrada landed 17 more according to that. Roman rallied late on. I didn't score it, but perhaps the right man won. Yo, no disrespect to anyone who follows the channel, but if you want to see styling, as you were talking about on Friday on Channel 5, go watch one Estrada in the last round and watch how he styled. Although it was a very tight round against an elite fighter. You want to see styling? One showed his ass, bruh. Some serious boxing, bruh. Serious boxing and slugging. Wow.
Coming out with a shout in this original styling.
Great round. Two great fighters who punctuated a very good fight, a great fight. People ain't really mentioning it's a great fight because their other two fights are really good as well. But this is one of the best fights of the year with me, but they're fighting so often, we're bypassing the quality they're giving us. Grandstand finish by both men.
The third meeting between these two great champions. Rocky the champion now. Zale won the first fight, Rocky the second, and here we are in the rubber match.
Zale versus Graziano for the middleweight title in the 40s. One fight apiece. Every fight ended by knockout. They had every fight and was a barn burner. That's why you have trilogies. You don't have trilogies so you can make up some record that no one has an interest in. Zell won the trilogy 2-1. When people quote trilogies, they quote Floyd Patterson, Ingemar Johansson. Every fight ended by knockouts. 2-1 to Patterson. The fights don't necessarily have to end in knockouts. They have to be competitive, though. Maybe someone needs to teach Tyson Fury the ethics of boxing history. Winning 2 trilogies and never losing one of the fights doesn't really mean much when one of the trilogies wasn't in demand. See, boxing is about supply and demand. The trilogy with Chisora was not in demand. The third fight with Wilder wasn't in demand. It turned out to be a good fight, but it wasn't in demand. We wanted to see AJ and Fury for Undisputed. This fight here, Gonzalez Estrada, was in demand. It was a rubber match because observers of both fights found it hard to split the two. That's why Joe Frazier and Ali had 3 fights. It was hard to split them apart. Ken Norton and Ali, it was hard to split them apart. Jones and Tarver, the third fight was a rubber match. The first fight was controversial. Jones got knocked out second time. Third fight, which Tarver won, was a rubber match. The first fight Tyson had with Derek Chisora, yeah, it was a tough fight, but Tyson definitely won it. Second fight, just too one-sided for words for there to ever be a need for a third fight. Ray and Duran, they had a trilogy, although the third fight didn't happen till some, I don't know, maybe 8, 9, 10 years after the second fight. But it was a rubber match. It was one apiece. So there was a demand for it. Trying to own some record for being undefeated in a trilogy is not impressive, because most of the historical trilogies are rubber matches, where the score is 1-1, and the third fight is a determining fight. This guy's got it twisted. He might as well drag John McDermott back out of retirement and have a third fight. At least John had a case for winning the first fight.